What's happening, Wargamers? Welcome to the After Action Report. Sinister 6 versus the Clone Saga Web Warriors. And right off the hop, I just want to get it out there. I think you got diced kind of hard in this particular game.
I didn't have the greatest defense dice, and I definitely used some people in the wrong ways, but Sandman's attacks were all great.
Sandman and Vulture, man. Both of those were just, they were throwing fire for you. This particular game.
And that last attack from Electro was fine.
If that was the attack into Miles, a whole different ballgame, right?
Yeah,
like, whole different ballgame. Because Miles would have gone down, and then you turn around, you take out Core Spidey, you bring me down to, I'm only scoring 3 points, forces another round.
Yep.
So I'm at 15, you're scoring, I think, 3 yourself at that point.
Yeah.
2 or 3 at that point.
Yeah.
Putting you up to around 8 or so. It's still very much in the Web Warriors game, but you have priority once again.
Yep.
And, and it's a whole new ballgame. At that particular instance. And, a lot can happen with it. But yeah, it's just, I think, like, on my particular part, like, my defensive dice were just friggin' fire.
Well, and to be fair, your team is built around defensive tech. It really helped that you had some good dice to go with it, but, like...
They are, but Ben Reilly incinerated for so much of the game.
Yeah.
And look at just how much he tanked.
Yeah, he definitely absorbed a lot more damage from me than I really wanted to throw at him.
He had no business taking that much heat off you, right?
Yes, yeah. Now, I do think that I could have used Electro a little bit better, especially if I paired Electro and Vulture together. I could do a little more shenanigans with that.
I do think you were a little conservative with him, personally. I think Electro could have done a little bit more damage for you.
Yeah.
I think Goblin... Well, actually, Goblin was kind of a weird one because even with all those rerolls, you should have been doing more damage with Goblin.
Yeah, now, Goblin, I felt like was going to be one of those I could kind of fire off as a missile and forget, and use the other guys to kind of distract and pull you in. But I made 2 kind of, I'm going to call them greedy errors.
Okay.
One of them is with the constructs in Electro, I have Static Arc, and I could have given out a damage and a shock to... Ben and I think it was Spectacular Spider over here.
As long as you could draw that straight line.
Well, and I could have done it, but instead I chose to pick on Spectacular over here by himself, and it was like that was probably poor. And then Sandman got knocked out, so he dropped his constructs, and it takes 2 turns to bring him back. So I think you either have to use it when you can and get those shocks and damage in as you get a chance to, or you need to not take that card and not rely on it.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think you don't take that card and you don't rely on it.
I think it's a cool card, and it could do some interesting things, especially because these constructs can just pop and have no problems. But I think what I was doing here and how that was working was not ideal for that.
You know what would have been a killer card for you this game, and unfortunately you couldn't take it because you were taking Local Science Man?
Yep.
Would have been Well-Laid Plans.
Yes. Yep.
That card actually would have been amazing because so much of the game I was sitting on Spider Infected.
Yep.
And if you could have just forced me to drop them, and I think it does some damage as well. I can't remember.
I think it does the damage and whatnot. But
that would have been amazing.
I also had another chance over here when you went after Doc Ock. I had 4 power on him, and I'm like, I can spend 4 power. Sandman, here you go. Here's the objective, and run away, do a fallback essentially, or
tactical retreat.
That's it. Yeah. And I chose not to because I wanted to have the power to do different things, specifically going after people with surprise webhead or...
Oh, that surprise webhead. That should have been so much better for you.
Yeah. And part of that is definitely I could do a lot more with that if I'd set it up a little bit better too. So
I don't even think it was necessarily a matter of setting it up better. I rolled ridiculous defense on that one. I was only rolling 2 defense dice, and yet for some reason, Scarlet Spider was just saying nope.
And I used Electro's power to go after Spectacular instead of
that is
Spider.
true. You did the live wire
and
instead.
I could have brought Goblin over into this area too, and I'm like, I don't need to do that. That's fine. Or I could have brought Vulture over.
Yeah. No, it was one of those things where I think there was a lot of tech here that if the dice had just gone slightly differently, it's a whole other story for you.
Yeah, and dice do tell a story. That's not something that we don't want part of our game. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think everyone should base their game off of our 22 threats.
This isn't representative?
Yeah, this is every game is going to be exactly like this, guys, so be aware.
So I actually want to quickly talk about what our expectations going into this game were, because I thought you were going to attrition the ever-living bejeebus out of me.
So I don't think Spider Foes is great at attrition. Like, I shouldn't say that. I think that the choosing Doc Ock's leadership and being able to essentially just generate a lot of power, my whole point was to try to manipulate the situation where I do a bunch of little damage to you over the course of the game, and I didn't actually put that into play as I wanted to.
Do you think using Goblin's leadership might have been a little bit better for you?
I hate Goblin's leadership because I always feel like I roll nothing off of his dice. So it always feels like this is the worst of all. I never cause anyone to reroll into anything worse than they had. And it always feels bad for me when it's like, you didn't really do anything.
So your personal experience.
Little bit negative on that, right? So.
I will say, even though I think I made the right call trying to get rid of Shocker as early as I did, it was kind of a shame we didn't really get a chance to see him do a whole lot.
I'm very sad because you took him out with mostly 4 dice physical attacks where he was rolling 6 dice against you.
I mean, in all fairness, I hit you with 4 dice attacks and then followed up with 2 attacks from ASM, right?
Yeah, and I was like, I should take 1 and 0 or 1 damage from these with a couple of spikes for 2 or 3. That's fine. And definitely was not feeling like that at all.
Yeah, no, I was able to nickel and dime him down, which was surprising given how much defense dice you were rolling on that one. And I think that kind of goes back to the story here. Unfortunately, my dice were just consistently good defensively.
Now,
and you couldn't chew through them.
Well, and the funny thing about the story is I think someone like Shocker in a team that gets to do defensive rerolls, Shocker is going to be a very valuable member because he's just very good at not taking very much damage, and then kind of doing that too dangerous to ignore kind of thing, right? Where you're just screwing up their
Grounds are Rockin', I think it is.
Yeah. The reverse, too dangerous to ignore, right? Or
you don't want to be within 2 because And no, it's really interesting. I think the new Spider Foes have some really cool tech behind them. It does feel weird because it feels like they don't really all function together.
Yeah, I definitely expected Sandman to be like a 5 threat, and expected him to have lots of tricks of either going to where his constructs were or being able to do some big attack that he ends up somewhere else, because I always feel like that's normal for his thing.
I mean, he is able to place off his constructs, but you never really had an opportunity to do so.
No, not at all. Yeah,
which was really unfortunate. I mean, although having said that, Sandman was reliably scoring attacks for you.
Well, and I was able to. He got attacked twice and got to attack you with a 12 dice attack on the first turn, second turn, something like that.
Yeah, who did you take down with that one?
I think it was Spectacular's first front.
Was it Spectacular, or did you just do a whole bunch of damage to ASM? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think ASM was over there at the time. So
I honestly don't remember at the moment.
But honestly, I felt like Sandman was very consistent. Unfortunately his sand constructs are very consistent as well.
But they're just consistent. It's a great way of generating power. Just let them get blown up and
you killed the thing, cost me 1 of my health because I had healing factor. All right, I guess I'm okay with that.
Yep. No, it's definitely interesting. I think there might be something interesting here. It just takes a little bit more time to bake.
Yeah,
I think that's what it comes down to.
I'm going to go ahead and say that I felt the entire game that Vulture was incredibly effective, and between his hit and runs and whatnot, he could do what he wanted to. He controlled the point and was interacting with the game for the most part. And
nuts to the haters, man. Yeah. Vulture did good.
Well, and I'm just like, so next Trap House, he's invited to that party because that's going to be nuts. You got to check the wording on each of your Trap House agents, but
make sure is it places, movements, whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Know what you're doing there.
And the worst thing is, most of the Trap House things are either wild and crit or crits and hits, and of course, Electros is wilds and hits, which is more often
when I saw that, I like, oh no, that's not good for me. And then all of a sudden, like, no, it's crits and hits.
You're okay. Yeah,
I'm fine. And it's like, oh. So. There were so many instances in this game where I was actually kind of rooting for your attacks to kind of do something cool and amazing. And unfortunately, it wasn't able to materialize there.
So how'd you feel about Ben?
Scarlet Spider, I think he's fantastic. He came in. I don't think he ever really did massive amounts of damage, but he was controlling your guys a lot.
And he did a lot of honest damage too, right? Like, it was like, oh, here's a bit of damage, here's a bit of damage.
Yep, he did a bunch of impact webbings, he did a bunch of throws, he moved people around.
Yep.
For 4 threat, he rearranges the board.
Yeah.
I right now, I'm convinced he is probably one of the best control pieces in the game.
Oh, excellent.
Well, he has 4 ways of moving people.
Yep.
Like, impact webbing has the pushes. He's got, and then he's got the... what is it? The web whip, which normally pushes a guy short, but it also places Ben Reilly somewhere. And then, of course, he also has the proportionate strength of the spider, where he can throw someone short.
Yeah.
So I think he's one of the best control pieces. I don't think he's quite Thanos level control piece or Hulk level control piece, but I think if he has 5 power and he's in a position to impact webbing twice and then web whip and proportionate strength, he's moving people around.
Yep.
And that can be huge. And it actually kind of was huge. I kept pushing your guys all over the place.
Yeah.
And Ben did good work there.
It sure was. And
so I'm a big fan of Ben.
How was your experience with all the Spider-Mans?
Oh man, it was kind of fun. It was silly, but it was kind of fun.
As a villain, my head was spinning because there were too many Spider-Mans.
Too many Spider-Man. Bring me pictures of too many Spider-Man. It was fun to kind of get them all on the board. We've talked about something like this for a little while, and it seemed like the perfect opportunity to do so. Having said that, I think it gave me a little bit of an unfair advantage because I had a lot of control.
Sure.
Like just an absolute metric ton of control. And, just having 2 less Spider-Man would have reduced that a little bit, because then I would have had 7 threat that I would have had to put towards something else. And, maybe that's a Venom and maybe a Black Cat or something like that, right?
That's fair.
But, I mean, those are still both really solid choices.
Yeah, I'm like, not a bad situation at all.
Not a bad situation. I think what happened is, unfortunately, your dice kind of betrayed you a little bit. You should have had a lot more damage going through from Goblin. On a lot of your attacks, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And Ben Reilly should not have tanked nearly as much as he did. That was just obscenely obnoxious on his part. And frankly, we now know why he is the better Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. The real Spider-Man.
Yep. There's a reason why he got to retire in the 90s for a little bit, because he's clearly better at this than Peter Parker. And there goes the channel. So anyway, I think that's all we have to say about this game. So thank you guys so much for watching. Leave your comments below. Of course, we will see you next time. And if you want to support the channel, patreon.com/AegisBrand or go hit up iwargame.net. Use code AegisBrand, save 10% on one of these wonderful pre-marked battle maps. We'll see you next time. Happy wargaming.